Hi, I'm Christian, the co-founder and CEO of Tenzo. Before setting up Tenzo, I actually set up a chain of restaurants called Hummus Brothers in London, and really looking to solve the problem that I had when I ran those restaurants, which was my data was everywhere. I didn't know, I had spent all my time trying to aggregate it, get it into one place to then be able to run some analysis. That took forever, and I spent all my time doing that instead of actually analyzing my data. So built Tenzo, what we do is we aggregate data from over 120 different of your systems in the ecosystem: POS, labor, inventory, reviews, reservations. We then add context to that. So hospitality context, your business context, the location context, the end of day reports from the GMs. And then you really are able to access that both on our dedicated mobile and web apps. You can automate emails. So really having your GMs, your area managers engage with that in real time. And then most recently, we've launched an MCP, so a connector that allows you to connect all of that data into Claude, ChatGPT, Gemini, Copilot, and really treat that as an assistant data analyst. So I'm going to just run you through today a prompt that I am just running on a demo account that we have. So here I'm just asking, could you do a labor productivity analysis, taking sales, labor, and reviews, so reviews that our guests are giving into consideration. Let's look at the last 90 days, make it visual, and make some recommendations. So you can see that it has loaded a bunch of tools. So it's using the Tenzo MCP. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It's basically the connector to Tenzo, which gets all of like the metrics and the context to help it understand the questions and answer them. So what has it done? It has shown me what our sales are, what's the sales per labor hour, labor cost ratios. It is helping me then classify all my different sites, showing me the sales per labor hour, so SPLH. It's also done a very helpful graph showing me the distribution of whether the more we spend on sales per labor hour, do we get a better rating? Doesn't look like necessarily that's the case. And then really it's giving me a little bit of a summary of what's happened here. So the headline, 2 of the biggest revenue drivers are your least productive. That's interesting. Group-wide, you turn £32 of sales per labor hour, 34% labor ratio. The spread is enormous, which is interesting. So it goes from Shoreditch at 44, while Kensington at 27. So these burn far more hours per pound. Manchester alone spends 81k to produce slightly less revenue than Soho, which spends 55. Labor isn't buying the experience. The encouragement is your lean sites can also carry the best review scores, which is interesting. It has also looked at my Daypart. So in Tenzo, you can define as many Dayparts as you want. So you just give the times of those Dayparts, and then it will be able to go and look at that by Daypart. And what I like about this, it also gives a few recommendations on what we would do. So re-roster Manchester and Birmingham. These are execution, not demand problems. So low productivity and low reviews. So pull labor back towards Shoreditch. Soho Shoreditch shape, which is interesting. So actually making me a recommendation on that. Protect Kensington service while trimming. It earns its ratings, so cut conservatively. Target the prep, close, and breakfast shoulders and the peak dinner cover. Fix breakfast or shrink it. Either drive attachment to lift the 566 pence per head. So it's helping me understand that labor productivity is not just labor. It's also you've got to make sure you've got your sales in a good place. Or tighten the open shift labor where covers and spend are thinnest, and then diagnose the leads and reviews directly. So you see now it's nicely saying, do you want me to dive deeper in any of these? So let's say yes. Let's dive deeper into Manchester. So now it will go and look at all the KPIs it can access from Tenzo. You could also, if we wanted to go and actually look at what's happening on attachment or what's happening specifically on reviews, all of that data is in Tenzo. So you're able to get any KPI related to those metrics that really, because we only work with hospitality, we're able to really define those. So, SPLH means spend per labor hour. How do you calculate? Net sales divided by labor. So all of that context is in there. We're also bringing in context from your GMs. So at the end of the shift, a GM can fill in a report, give a bit of a context about what happened during the shift. So was the things that might not be in the sales data, the labor data, the reviews data. So examples of that could be the dishwasher broke down, so we didn't have as good a service, or two people had to go and wash dishes instead of one, so that slowed things down. Or maybe that there was a area of the restaurant that was flooded, or that and that we had to close it. So any of that context would help enrich this, and also give the LLM, so Claude or ChatGPT or whatever your favorite LLM is, more context in order to be able to answer those questions. So here it's starting it. What's nice also about this is that it's helping you understand. It will showing you what it's doing, and will tell you if it's made mistakes. So it was looking at the wrong location. So here we are. We have managers for labor, day part, and day a week breakdown. The review endpoint keeps it. Looks like that. So it's verifying the maths. Now getting into all of that detail, and hopefully it's showing us the progress on the site. So what actually is it looking at? So Manchester's problem is clear and structural. So let's see what it comes up with. So again, it's giving me a bit of a view on like sales per labor hour, labor cost ratio, also front of house, which is pretty helpful to understand how that's going. It is now loading a couple of visualizations there. So interestingly, it is helping it's understanding what's happening by role, which is pretty interesting. So Manchester textbook overstaffing, the shape tells you exactly where to cut. The core layer is flat, while demand isn't. Productivity is 27 per hour on every day part, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and almost every day of the week. A well-run set flexes labor up on the busy periods and quiet. This is a rostering problem, not a demand problem. Sunday is the worst offender. Pulls the second highest hours of the week, but the joint lowest in sales. That's interesting. That's a simple, fast way. So, and then this is how it should fix this, right? So really rebuild the Sunday rota, flex the front of the house and dinner peak, set a productivity floor, and fix the rota feed on Wednesday. What's really interesting is that you can imagine how this could be useful for either an area manager going to see that site, or the ops director looking to see that site. Specific recommendations that are grounded in data and in explanation to really be able to understand what actions could be taken here. So we do a lot of these. You could throw at it pretty much whatever you want. So labor productivity analysis, reviews analysis, looking at what is the profitability by hour of the day. So sales minus labor minus theoretical costs, just to understand what parts of the day you're making a profit or not, or whether you should be closing the store earlier or not. And we do this for restaurants all over the world, amazing brands like Honest Burgers, JKS, and many others. Thank you very much.